So let's take a look at why we're all on the verge of becoming slaves to the ultra-conservative, ultra-wealthy who want to control the world. Well, we already have the technology available to us, or we have the blueprint on how to achieve that technology that will eliminate almost every job in the world. Now, of course, not all of the technology has been perfected, and there are current prohibitive costs to implement a lot of this. But that's just a matter of time. I mean, you know this, I know this, your parents know this. Those of you in the science fields, and those of you in computer and robotics technology, those of you in engineering fields, you certainly know this. And you better believe me when I tell you this. The ones who want to enslave you, those of wealth and privilege, those who feel that the common person is beneath them, they certainly know this. They're using this technology to eliminate jobs. But please, I do not want you to take my word on this. This is one of those questions you need to be asking those people who are trying to influence you. And do not settle for unsatisfactory, unsubstantiated answers. So why is this so important? Well, as I mentioned previously, it is inevitable that the society of the future will be under one type of government control. In order to advance as a society, in order to solve problems we'll face, the problems that seem unimaginable and impossible to solve today, we are fated to a one world government if we're going to solve them and survive as a species. And as I told you, the problem with that is that we only have two options to choose from. The first option is a government that is controlled by its citizens, one that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Sound familiar? Well, President Lincoln was quite the visionary in his time, wasn't he? And in this type of society that is of the people, by the people, and for the people, the resources and responsibilities are shared, but individuality and creativeness are promoted and rewarded. It's also a society that can be changed by its citizens as necessary in order to meet the needs of all of the people. Realistically, our founding fathers had it right when they created the United States of America as a democratic republic. They gave us a government that we can change as we see necessary in order to benefit all Americans. Now let that sink in for a moment. You, as citizens of this country, you own this government. You have the power to change your government as long as that government remains in the hands of the people and does not become privatized. However, the second option, one that is privatized, one that is owned by the kings, or in today's society, by the corporations, the one that the ultra-conservatives and the ultra-wealthy are pushing hard for, is one in which the wealthy and the corporations dictate over the people. Do you think you'll be able to change that type of government? A government that is privatized, one that's bought and paid for? Take a look at today's corporations. They are, in all but name, kingdoms. They hold dominion over people's lives. If we end up under that type of government, can you change it? They are gathering up property and resources as fast as they can, even causing recessions through tax cuts and deregulation, so they can buy up distressed properties at ridiculously low prices. Because once they own all of the property, the people become slaves and become solely reliant on corporate compassion and charity. Now, how many of you have seen corporate compassion and charity recently? A government that is privatized, do you really think you can change that type of government if it comes down to it? You are seeing this agenda being pushed hard today by the conservative politicians who realistically are nothing more than mouthpieces for the ultra-wealthy. Politicians who, at the behest of wealthy corporate interests, are stripping workers' rights in states, eliminating jobs that benefit society. Nurses, teachers, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, these jobs are being destroyed by conservative governments. They're turning the education of our children over to corporate interests and fighting to keep the masses from adequate health care. Today, corporate interests are funding lesson plans in over 60,000 public classrooms, but only if those schools agree to promote their benefactors' corporate agenda. Let's say the world's largest fast food provider wanted to donate lesson plans to your classroom, but they'd only do so if in those lesson plans it included the message that their food was the best thing in the world for you if you wanted to grow up to be a strong, healthy, and successful individual. Now, even if that message were true, corporate promotion in public classrooms is wrong. And why is the healthcare issue so important to you now? Now, when you're still so young and healthy, why should you worry about getting out and voting because of the healthcare issue? Let's just take a look at how healthcare, the technology in healthcare is rapidly changing. Cures for diseases are being found on almost a daily basis. Genetics research is finding answers for our most horrific diseases: cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's. We will see cures for these and other terrible diseases in the very near future. Genetics research is finding answers for longevity and for vigorous health and vitality, for regenerative possibilities. They're already growing human organs in laboratories, and within 10 years, they will have perfected the growing of new livers and kidneys from a person's own cells. Within 20 years, hearts and lungs and other vital organs will be perfected. There will no longer be a need for organ donors. Already, artificial life has been created at the J. Craig Venter Institute, and that creates endless possibilities for humankind to enter entirely new worlds of research that could at some point, and will at some point in the future, allow us to end the slaughter of animals for food. Imagine being able to grow the best tasting steak or a lobster tail imaginable without having to kill an innocent animal. And this isn't something that might happen in the distant future. This is happening today. We have the technology already. This is happening today. This is happening today. And technology is inflating the lifespan balloon rapidly for each and every one of you. I mean, it is not only conceivable, but it is probable. It is probable, but for the exception of encountering a catastrophic event or because of denial of treatment. And remember that. Because of denial of treatment. Otherwise, it is probable that each and every one of you could not only be alive, but be vibrant, healthy, and a contributing member of society, not only at the turn of the next century, but long past it, possibly seeing several centuries. Imagine that. We have that technology at our fingertips. Now, how many of you noticed that I said could be alive? Well, let's face it, the body and all of its parts do wear out over time. And at some point in the future, after your diseases have been cured, if healthcare hasn't been denied to you, at some point in the future, after your diseases have been cured, if healthcare hasn't been denied to you, you are going to have to replace every organ in your body. Now think about that. Replacing every organ in your body, that will be possible by the time you reach my age, and I'm only 54 years old. A little over twice most of you's age. Now, how many private insurance companies are going to pay for or even offer coverage for you to replace every organ in your body. Do you think that a private insurer, any private insurer, whose sole purpose is to make a profit at your expense, is going to put your health care as their number one priority? How many kingdoms, corporations, will find it in their best interest to put your health as a priority over their privilege? So where are we as a society today? Well, we're at a point in history where there's a severe push being made by private individuals to privatize, to control education, jobs, and health care. And why the big push on those three things? Because if they control what they want you to learn by privatizing the education system, if they eliminate government and union jobs and control all of your income potential, and if they control your health care options, they own you. Plain and simple. They own you, and you become expendable. At that point, the only value you will have as a human being is being able to provide entertainment for those who own you. Can you imagine what type of entertainment that might be? Well, history can give you numerous examples and insight into that. Examples that are horrific. So remember, in the future, under one world government, when that happens, and we will have one world government, and you will probably see it in your lifetime. If that government is where the conservative faction is leading us today, and if you are not part of the elite, and I'm not talking the 2%, I am talking the very elite, just thousands of people in this world who are able to control it. If you are not part of that elite or not part of their solution, you will be expendable. Do not let them take over your government. Do not let them privatize your government. You know, most of us live in denial about ourselves and about the things that go on around us in society. My generation much more so than yours. And the reason being is my generation grew up in superstition and a hope of a better life ahead for our children. My generation is a bridge between the past and the future. And most of my generation can't perceive a world without jobs, or a world where humans are valued as no more than tools, even though we see it right in front of our eyes on a daily basis. But your age group, you can see the world for what it is. So that's why I'm putting this burden on you and telling you that you have to get out and vote in every election, no matter how difficult or inconvenient it may be for you. And these conservative governments across the United States, these states are making it difficult and inconvenient for you. They are trying to take away your rights as a voter, if you are, especially if you are a student. So you have to get out and you have to vote. You have to vote for the sake of humanity. And it's for these reasons and so many more reasons that I must reiterate, never, ever, ever vote for a conservative candidate. Now, as I said, this is an introductory presentation, and we'll be covering a lot of issues in the future. I hope you'll stop back to the James Take in a few days for my next take, and it will be on the technology that will allow you to live for centuries or kill you in this one. Thanks for dropping in. Look forward to seeing you. And remember, never, ever, ever vote for a conservative candidate. Good night.